Zampala and welcome to another episode of Face to Face. I'm Tintin, your host. In conversation with me today, I'm joined by the earliest filmmaker, Mr. Palden Dorji, who is known for his films like The Perfect Girl, Pama, and many more. Before becoming a filmmaker, he was a photographer and also an artist. So firstly, welcome to Face to Face. Why did you choose to be a filmmaker?
How I joined filmmaking dates back to 1978. In the fourth five-year plan, they had this called film unit attached to the Department of Information. Actually, it was not my option, not my choice. I was placed there by the government actually. So we were five of us. Through Colombo plan, we were sent to Japan to study film. After joining the unit, then I decided, yes, I want to become a filmmaker. That's how I'm landed up filmmaking.
Was that what you always wanted to be? What was your dream as a student, your ambition?
As a young man, I never had my ambition or something like that. But I wanted to become an artist, become an architect, designing. My interest was in that line actually. So, because that time the architect, the artists were not required. So they wanted to start a film industry, film in Bhutan. I love painting, and that's how the painting and photography is always related. And then the government, maybe it was blessing in disguise. I, happily accepted the offer made to me by the government that time.
So let's talk about the first movie that you've directed. What was the first movie that you've directed?
The first movie I directed is called Naropa, the Indian Scent.
So what about Pama? Wasn't that your first movie that you've directed?
The Pama was my first movie of my own production and direction, script writing and everything.
So what made you make that movie?
Pama actually contained lots of social messages. Lots of it is still going on. Lots of divorce cases, the single parent, the problems were cropping up. It was growing like.
So you actually made that movie based on reality, right?
Yes. I thought movie was the only way to tell them how bad it is.
Especially for the child, right?
Especially for the child who is left without proper guidance, what happens. So those were the intentions that triggered my interest.
So tell us about the equipments used back then and the equipments that the directors are using today. Do you see any changes?
Those days, the film camera that we used in the late 70s and early 80s was a film camera which weighed almost like 7 kilogram. And then then after the film camera, we switched over to video camera because filming was an expensive matter.
And this used to go all the way to Bombay or to
We cannot, there's no place in Bhutan to process the film. Then suddenly the world develops a video where you don't have to develop. So we suddenly switched over to video. And that's the time again I got a chance to go back to Japan and study videography. First I learned cinematography, later I learned videography. So that is cinematography and videography. And the it was so bulky that we needed two people to do coverage, news coverage, whatever it is, documentary films you make. Two people are needed to do that because one carried the camera, the other one carried the recorder, and we were connected. Two together weighed almost like 13 kilograms of, we had big batteries to carry. And now, if I may show you, from a big camera that was on the shoulder, now it is in my pocket. So this is a good camera. Now these are small cameras, pocket size cameras they call it. Those days, I think shoulder cameras.
Much easier, no?
Much easier to use.
So if you were given a chance, or if you are capable to change one thing, what would that be? What changes will you bring in the film industry if you have the capacity to change?
The changes we would like to make is the way we tell our stories. Big change where we need is the marketing, and we want to bring in the distributorship in Bhutan. There's no distributorship in Bhutan. That's why our films are laid back, where we watch it ourselves.
What influence do you see culturally through movies that had on the Bhutanese?
Lots of cultural influences are there actually. We see, especially when it comes to language. The spoken Dzongkha is improved. Culture is not, we are not talking about preservation only. The promotion of culture is important as well. So that's what the film is doing, promoting culture.
Before we wrap up this episode of Face to Face, do you have any message to the youth watching us right now?
The only message I have for the young filmmakers is to keep making. Please continue making films, and we will together make films, and I'm not going to give up filmmaking. So join me filmmaking. Tashdile.
So thank you so much for your time today, Lau. And to the viewers, thank you so much for watching this episode of Face to Face. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our page. I'll see you all next week.